I thought they used the machine.
They were like, I have a machine for this one, huh? It's song on the huh? Toto's drummer, Jeff Lecaro, was that back in the day. And you know how skilled the Toto musicians are.
They're some of the best. That's back when ugly people were allowed to make music, man.
That's right. Phillips was their only choice.
Music was better when ugly people made it.
Other drummers were like, hey, man, can I get an audition? They were like, hey, this guy toured with Santana and he played with Zappa, okay? It's Simon Phillips, and that's it. Someone who I believe has been celebrated in this spot as a live guy, Japanese jazz pianist Virtuoso Hiromi Uehara, uses him as first drummer in her trio with Anthony Jackson. They've done 4 albums together. David Gilmour, Asia, Joe Satriani, Madness, just a few others that he has played with. And you hear here, Pete. Sam,
besides Carlo, that Zoo audio is the only one you need.
Oh, yeah, you were able to find it?
Yeah, I found it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In 2003, he was inducted into the Modern
And so you see the white guy in the short sleeve button downs in the crowd watching this.
Oh, yeah. And that, and B, as you can envision with your mind's eye, you know the bass player and the guitarist are African American gentlemen with like leopard print and backwards cap. Just not
A backwards cap you have, like
exactly the backwards cap you had like the two. And Philip with his freaky guitar. Still plays. He is
So on Sunday, we just got to mull through everything to get to the game.
What time are we supposed to get out? 3?
I think it's pretty good.
We'll be back on Monday. But we hope you have
Check
a great
that
night.
email.
Don't forget all the basketball and the football on the station this weekend. Thanks to Tim Day, our tireless executive producer, and Katie for filling in today for Ronnie.
Yeah, Katie.
Katie?
A big thanks to Colin Yee. Fully functional employee Adam from his Bluetooth headset. Why did I buy this thing? Coming up now.
KLAC KYSR HD2 Los Angeles.
LA, you ready? Basketball's biggest weekend deserves the game's best.
That is how I found out about the Zoo trade, because I was like doing a bunch of stuff and I was on YouTube and I saw your. I was like, oh no, it happened.
And to our pop-up at LA Live. Pull up to LA Live Thursday through Sunday for exclusive draws, immersive experiences, and appearances from NBA superstars like Jason Tatum, Lonzo Ball.
And they briefly hopped in the chat on one of my burners because I was just logged in on different accounts.
All right.
Just had an answer to the question.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC
No.
technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand.
How did
So when a
you?
noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower
Huh?
motor,
That's
it
all right. I
doesn't
was
break
the
a sweat.
best.
With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product.
Who wins the championship?
Everything
Yeah.
coming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We know you need a reliable boot, a boot that has withstood the test of time. When you feed, build, and fuel the nation.
Welcome into Clippers Countdown as your LA Clippers are back out on the road for their final 4 games before the All-Star break, starting in Sacramento tonight against the 12-40 Kings, who had a minor makeover at the deadline. But meanwhile, the Clippers, they had a major reimagining of their roster, not just with the addition of Darius Garland for James Harden, but yesterday they made quite literally the biggest move of the deadline, trading Big Zoo, Ivica Zubac, their longest tenured Clipper, who has been a mainstay and the most reliable player on this team the last 7 years, to the Pacers for Benedict Mathurin and 2 valuable first-round picks. An understandable move, a necessary move to usher in a new era of Clippers basketball, but also a difficult one for the fan base, including, of course, this host. You know, Ivica Zubac is my favorite Clipper. From his style of play to his personality, self-deprecating nature, like someone who really related to the fan base. Even apologized to them once for the squad coming up short. He said something before that we all had said. Clippers can't have nice things. He understood the hardships the franchise has gone through and wanted to be a part of the turning point to help get them to the top of the mountain for the first time. I don't know if any player cared more in the same ways as we do as fans than Big Zoo. So salute to him. I know I'll stay a fan, but also I've been a fan of Benedict Mathurin from afar since his Arizona days. So it's bittersweet. But this is professional sports, and it's a new day with a new look Clippers team with soon-to-be new fan favorites. Tip-off from Sacramento at Golden One Center between the Clippers and Kings is just about 55 minutes away. Coming up next, you're going to hear from your radio voice of the Clippers and Carlo Jimenez. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network.
Do you ever wonder how to win somebody's got to lose? I might as well get over the blues. Just like this.
Clippers in Sacramento from Golden One Center taking on the Kings. Tip-off just about 55 minutes away. I'm Adam Osland. It is Clippers Countdown, the official pregame show of your Los Angeles Clippers. Coming up in a little bit, we'll go back in time in Clippers Rewind. But first, let's get up north to your radio voice of the Clippers in Carlo Jimenez. Carlo, how we doing, my friend?
Adam, I was walking the streets and people were like, hey, do you know Adam Osland? I was like, actually, I do. You're famous around these parts.
They punch you in the face, or
No, they
know
gave me
that
money. They gave me hugs. They offered their homes to me. It was incredible. It's truly great. You have a lot of pull here.
All right. Well, they'll be in San Francisco soon where you're holding things down back in your homeland. Let's talk about this Clippers team. Losing a mainstay, a staple, and Ivica Zubac in a trade with the Indiana Pacers yesterday. The biggest trade of the trade deadline, quite literally. Ivica Zubac goes to the Pacers, Benedict Mathurin, 2 first-round picks, Isaiah Jackson to the Clippers. Talk a little bit about what Ivica Zubac meant to this organization, Carlo.
Yeah, I mean, I think he embodied what it meant to be he embodied Clipper Nation. I think in the best form as a player. Ty Lue kind of talked about how he saw him grow from somebody who didn't play fourth quarters to somebody who was winning games for them down the stretch. He was always nice. I thought Justin Russo shared a really nice story on Twitter earlier this week about how the team had lost a game in Golden State. Russo and a bunch of other beat reporters had spent their own money to come up to the Bay Area to go to the game, and they asked Zubac after a tough loss, like, hey, will you speak to us? And they thanked him after, and Zoo said, of course, you guys spent your money to come here. Why wouldn't I? And I think that just kind of encapsulates the person Ivica Zubac was. He was always giving. He was always kind. He was always generous. He was an extremely hard worker, and he wanted to win in a Clipper uniform more than anybody else. I mean, you hear the reports coming out of the Indiana today that he's going to miss a couple of games with an ankle injury when he was playing through that for the Clippers. And Ty Lue was open that he was playing through injuries to start the season. Definitely somebody you're going to miss. Lawrence Frank said it was one of the hardest decisions he had to make. I don't think anybody wanted to make this decision. But again, you look at the package the Clippers got. You look at the situation they're in, currently sitting at the 9th seed. Unfortunately, a decision that became too enticing for the Clippers to make. But you're going to miss Big Zoo and cannot wait for that ovation when he comes back to Intuit Dome on, I believe it is March 4th when Indiana comes to Intuit Dome.
Also, Kobe Brown was sent out, and hopefully he has an opportunity for more minutes. He can fulfill that potential coming out of Mizzou and Indiana now.
Yeah, and he's going to have an opportunity to play a lot of minutes with the Pacers. This is somebody, like you said, went to college or kind of around there, and it's a young Pacers team that's given a lot of people opportunities this season. You know, they're trying to develop for the future. They really think next season is their year when Halliburton finally gets healthy. So I think a great opportunity for Kobe Brown. His teammates loved him. I know him and Jordan Miller were super, super tight. It'll be interesting to see what becomes of Kobe's career. I think he has the talent. Again, the key with him is if he can knock down the three, he can find his place in the NBA. Clippers will definitely miss Kobe Brown. And it's just a weird shakeup for this Clippers team because you think of this season, Adam, right? You start 6-21. How could it get any worse? Then you go 17-4 over a 21-game stretch. Then they trade 2 of your top 3 players. But as Ty Lue said earlier today, we've been in tougher situations. And he's not wrong. They have been in tougher situations in his tenure, so he feels like this team can still find a way to compete and win some ball games.
Coach Lue, speak any more about just the new direction of this team and what we could see in the short term without Ivica Zubac, Brook Lopez in the starting lineup, maybe more Yannick right now. How does he view the rest of this season at this point?
Yeah, you know what? I thought the most interesting part of what Ty Lue talked about is he talked to Kawhi about all the moves that have been made, and obviously Kawhi Leonard, now the longest tenured Clipper. He's the last guy here when Ty Lue took over as head coach. And Kawhi said, you know what? I'm going to hold it down until Darius gets back. And he was excited. Ty expressed that as excited as Kawhi could get. He seemed excited and energized about the opportunity. So, one, I would expect Kawhi Leonard to get up a ton of shots every single night until Darius Garland comes back. But it's also just good to hear that the Clippers star player still feels like this team can be competitive and make a push come playoff time. I think Ty Lue understands it's a different situation. He's going to have younger guys a part of this Clipper team now, a different type of rotation. Ty was asked about, do you start Darius and Benedict Mathurin? Are you going to bring somebody off the bench? And he said, we're still trying to figure that out. Not sure yet. But what he did point out is Yannick Konan-Niederhauser is going to get a lot of opportunities until Isaiah Jackson kind of gets into the mix and understands the fold. And he felt like Yannick showed promise in those 6 games that Ivica Zubac did miss. So we'll see how Yannick takes advantage of that opportunity. But I think the Clippers now are going to give the younger guys a little more run just because they don't have the same bodies that they had before.
Maybe the Clippers had their minds on something else because of the looming trade deadline and their recent loss, 124-91, back at Intuit Dome on Wednesday night, Carlo. But this is a team that has a chance with fresh blood, with a younger squad now to still make the right push and climb up the standings as they try to get out of the play-in still.
100%. And I think another thing you can look at, Adam, is all the teams below them in the Western Conference. There's not a lot of incentive for those teams to win games. And so for the Clippers, there's a lot of incentives to compete, right? You don't own your same pick this year. There's no really advantage in losing games. So finding a way to be competitive, to still try to climb up the ladder board, maybe host a play-in game, maybe get out of the play-in if you get ultra, ultra hot. But the Clippers have this new fold. I think can play a new way. now without James Harden and Ivica Zubac. It's not that the old way wasn't good. The Clippers were winning a lot of games, but you have a lot of speed at the guard position now, and Mathurin and Darius Garland. I'm sure John Collins would love to give up and down the floor, maybe gets those transition dunks. How about Derek Jones Jr.? He's going to get more opportunities in transition now, more on the offensive end. So for the Clippers, it's a turn of a new page, but an opportunity maybe to change up the style in the middle of the season.
Let's talk about Benedict Mathurin a little bit. Liked him coming out of Arizona. This
Yeah.
is a young guy that has a ton of potential that hasn't even scraped his ceiling yet. How excited are you to call some of his games and watch what he can do in a Clippers uniform?
Well, Adam, I am super excited to call his games. Fun fact, I called Benedict Mathurin's last game at Arizona in the Pac-12 when he won the Pac-12 championship game. And I just remember being in awe of this guy, like 6'4", but he finishes like he's 6'9". He can shoot the three ball. He can get downhill. I mean, he's averaging 18 and 5, shooting 37% from three. This is a 6th overall pick for a reason. And I think Benedict Mathurin, the question always in Indiana was he never had the keys, right? He never had the ability to maybe do as much as he wanted on the offensive end. Now with somebody like Darius Garland next to him who can be a facilitator, a true point guard for this Clipper team, play that Kyrie-like role where he's creating on the offensive end, open things up for somebody like Benedict Mathurin to take more control of the reins of the offense. I am stoked to see Benedict Mathurin in a Clipper uniform. He is young. He is explosive. He is athletic. He is a guy who came out of the draft and said, LeBron's going to have to show me. He has all the confidence in the world in himself, and I think the Clipper fans will love to see him compete. This is a guy who just tries hard every time he's on the floor, every single possession. How can you not root for a guy like that?
Just 23 years of age. This Clippers team is retooled while getting younger, while still remaining competitive, and they're in Sacramento tonight, taking on the Kings from Golden One Center. Carlo Jimenez is on the call. Tip-off just about 51 minutes away. Coming up next, we'll talk more about the trade deadline moves. You're on Clippers Talk on Clippers Countdown on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network.
On and on, the beat goes on, the beat goes on, the beat goes on.
Clippers in Sacramento taking on the Kings. Tip-off just about 48 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. Welcome back in. I'm Adam Osland. Coming up, we'll go back in time in Clippers Rewind, but do want to bring you some news and notes following the trade deadline and what Coach Lou expressed pregame, saying Kawhi Leonard, this coming from Joey Linn, who will be with us in just a little bit. Kawhi told Coach Lou he's going to hold it down until Darius Garland gets back. He was disappointed to lose James Harden and Ivica Zubac, but is still excited about what the Clippers can do this season. Look, this team can still be very competitive. The schedule gets much tougher. I said even before all these moves, they're probably not going 16-3 their next 19 games with the level of competition coming up on the schedule. Sacramento tonight, but on Sunday, they will be in Minnesota, and then a back-to-back, I believe Tuesday, Wednesday in Houston against the Rockets, who ended up standing pat for the most part during the trade deadline. But this Clippers team, while you're getting younger, you can still stay competitive. They are trying to thread that needle and figure that out. And Lawrence Frank, I think, did a fabulous job doing this during this trade deadline. As for what some of the guys and when they could be returning here, Darius Garland, Benedict Mathurin, and Isaiah Jackson, they're going to be meeting them in Minnesota on Sunday. The hope is Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson will be available to play on Tuesday in Houston. Darius Garland still being evaluated as far as his return to play. So that sprained right toe, they're still looking at that. But it looks like there's a real possibility of Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson, an underrated pickup in this trade, will be with them in Houston playing on Tuesday. Clippers up in Sacramento taking on the Kings. Coming up next, we'll go back in time in Clippers Rewind. I'm at a Moslin tip-off just about 47 minutes away here on Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network.
So hush now, child, and don't cry. Your folks might kids will change. That's the way it is.
Clippers up in Sacramento taking on the Kings. Tip-off just about 43 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. I'm Adam Moslin. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll get to your player to watch and more. But first, we're going back in time in Clippers Rewind, back to November 27th of 2022. Clippers were at home taking on the Indiana Pacers. And Ivica Zubac, well, the signs may have been there at that time because he had one of his and maybe his most dominant game that day against the Pacers.
Leave it, Coffee on the right wing. Whip it inside. Zubac all alone. Jalen Smith lost him, and Zubac goes Air Croatia. Hooks it up with the right hand and hooks it in. Ivica Zubac, Duel Cinder, 12 first quarter points. And the rebound claimed by Zubac, slams it down with two. Ivica Zubac, a man amongst boys. down, a big slam. Pizza Zubac cannot be stopped. Jackson goes down the middle of the lane. Zubac floats it up, puts it in, counted it a foul. Downtown LA is alive. Zubac with 29 rebounds and 26 points. Zubac with a screen of McConnell. Wall driving, lob it towards the rim. Zubac slam. Pizza Zubac with 29 and 29.
Finished with 31 points, 29 rebounds. Could have got to 30, but fouled out late. I think on a foul on TJ McConnell on 14 of 17 shooting in that game. 17 defensive rebounds, 12 offensive rebounds. Ivica Zubac was dominant. One of my favorite Clippers of all time. I'm going to continue to monitor his career as he moves along now with the Indiana Pacers. Tip-off from Sacramento as the Clippers are taking on the Kings tonight is just about 39 minutes away. Coming up next, your player to watch. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Sacramento taking on the Kings. Tip-off just about 37 minutes away. I'm Adam Osland. It's Clippers Countdown. Coming up in just a little bit, Joey Linn will join us from SI now. But first,
this is LA Clippers basketball.
Watching this guy play right now is really something.
Players to watch.
with the trade deadline passing, I'm wondering if some of those guys who maybe have had their names thrown around in the rumor mill can now just kind of ease back into their roles. How about Bogdan Bogdanović in his first game back after missing significant time? And he's been snake bit with injury so far this season, but did play 12 minutes in their loss to Cleveland on Wednesday. 1 of 4 from the field, couple of points out there. Actually, it was a tough step back shot, I think, on Donovan Mitchell that he hit on the left baseline. This is somebody that has a lot more to his game if he can stay healthy, catch a rhythm, and the Clippers need another ball handler out there. He was not moved at the trade deadline. We thought, okay, $16 million team option, pseudo-expiring contract, basically. But Bogey's still on the team. He's my player to watch really the rest of the way. He could give them a huge boost if he could find just that rhythm that we were talking about. that we've seen throughout his career, especially with the Atlanta Hawks and formerly with the Sacramento Kings. Clippers up in NorCal, taking on the Kings. Tip-off just 35 minutes away. Up next, your injury report. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers in Sacramento. Way back when I was up there. Taking on the Kings. Tip-off is just about 33 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. Coming up, we will get to Joey Linn from Sports Illustrated. But first, your injury report here. Mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the newer Clippers not yet ready to start playing. Darius Garland out, Isaiah Jackson, Benedict Mathurin for the Sacramento Kings. Back without Keegan Murray once again, left ankle sprain. Domantas Sabonis also out, lower back soreness. Kings made some smaller trades on the margins, did get DeAndre Hunter for Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, who we saw with the Cleveland Cavaliers on Wednesday night. Clippers and Kings from Golden One Center. Tip-off just about 32 minutes away. Up next, Joey Linn from SI Now. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers and Kings from Sacramento. Tip-off 29 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. Coming up, we'll get your drive around the league and more. But first, joining the show right now is Joey Linn. At Joey Linn with an underscore at the end is where you find him. Covers the Clippers for Sports Illustrated. A Biola grad as well. Joey, good to have you back here on Clippers Countdown. Thanks for doing this, my friend.
Adam, thanks much for having me. You hear me all right?
I hear you all right. I see you all right on the YouTube side. You're up in my old stomping grounds in Sacramento. Let's talk about this Clippers team. It'll be old stomping grounds for Ivica Zubac now when he returns in March, now a member of the Indiana Pacers. Your thoughts on the trade of one of the stalwarts and staples of this team for 7 years?
I mean, first and foremost, you have to acknowledge just what he's meant to this organization, the growth that he has had since he has gotten here. I mean, Ty talked about it pregame. We were all calling for him to play fourth quarters not that long ago. It was just a few years ago that we were all beating the drum for him to get fourth quarter minutes, and he emerged into a top center in the NBA. Of course, all defense last season, a career year for him. So I just want to start by acknowledging that, what he's meant to this organization, played every single night, beloved by everyone. But I think when you look at this trade package, what Lawrence said in his statement makes sense. They did not want to trade Zoo, but they saw this as an opportunity to really do something that can put the organization in a position for long-term success that maybe without a deal like this, they might not have the ability to do. So I understand it. From the Clippers side, it's incredibly unfortunate for this current group because they had a ton of momentum, and then you lose James Harden, you lose Ivica Zubac. But I do think that the picture is a lot bigger than just this season, and a trade like this where you get back some significant draft capital, and particularly that 2026 first, depending on where it lands, it's a good deal for the Clippers, I have to say.
No doubt. Before we get to more on the return, just your interactions with Ivica Zubac post-game, it always seemed like he was the most gracious with his time and willing to talk to you guys about basketball more so than maybe anyone.
Zoo was awesome, man. I mean, that we were just talking about that actually in the locker room pregame with Clippers PR. Just, it's a loss for us. It really is. I mean, Zoo's awesome, man. He was always willing to talk, whether, it was a great game, a not so great game, a win, a loss. It didn't matter. I mean, he was a true pro. Beloved by everybody, like I said previously, and certainly wishing him the best in Indiana, not just from a basketball standpoint, but from a personal standpoint as well. I mean, I was talking to Nico about it this morning, and, Zoo just became a father a few days ago. So you certainly have to wish him and his wife well as they navigate that situation.
So the Clippers moving forward, a youth movement, an infusion of youth with Darius Garland, with Benedict Mathurin. Let's start with Darius Garland since that trade went down first. We know there's no timeline yet on when he'll be returning. Benedict maybe on next Tuesday in Houston. But Darius Garland, how do you see him as a player? And do you like the comp that Coach Lou was using, kind of mixing him up with Kyrie Irving and what he had in Cleveland back in the day?
Yeah, I think Ty's point with that is he's a young point guard who Ty, as a former point guard, has the opportunity to mold and speak into and kind of craft into the player that the Clippers think he can become, because, of course, he's already a two-time All-Star, but Kawhi said it himself. They think his best basketball is ahead of him, and I do think he'll have every opportunity to grow into that here with the Clippers. So it's an interesting trade, and it's actually something that I asked Darius about at his halftime press conference the other day when he showed up, was usually when you see a guy like James Harden traded, it is almost like the start of a rebuild where, maybe you're bringing back a bunch of young players or future draft assets, and not exactly a win now type of piece, or at least a winning type of player like Darius Garland, who is a multi-time All-Star, who has been a part of winning teams. And he spoke about that being part of his excitement, that he's not coming to a tear down, like he's going to have an opportunity to be part of a group that is trying to win. And as we know, the Clippers have no choice but to try to win for the remainder of this season. It does nothing for them to try to lose games. So whether or not this group comes together and can make a play-in run or a playoff run this season remains to be seen. But I do think Garland can complement the current group well, particularly Kawhi Leonard. So I talked about his excitement for playing a little bit faster and kind of learning how to kind of integrate his game into what DG wants to do. So I do think there's some reason for optimism and excitement there.
I know Benedict Mathurin is another guy fans have had their eye on since going back to Arizona, really watching him out on the West Coast and what he was able to do there. But This is somebody with a really high ceiling that is still just scratching the surface, really, of his full potential at 23 years of age. How do you value a player like that, and what could he end up being in this league? Best case scenario, Joey.
The Clippers need scoring. I think there's really no doubt about that. You lose James Harden. He's having the best scoring season of his last scoring title, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the third straight scoring title that he had won in Houston. So that's a big hit. And Zoo, underrated scorer himself. So the Clippers scoring, I don't think enough people are really talking about that. Took a pretty big hit at the trade deadline. But if you get Garland back healthy, if Mathurin is who he can be, I do think that helps kind of mitigate that blow a little bit. So I think the Clippers are excited about it. Ty was talking pregame saying that he actually connected with Tyrese Halliburton today. Ty obviously, crossed paths with Halliburton with Team USA in the prior Olympics and reached out to him, and they talked about Mathurin and kind of what he can do out there on the court. So there's a level of excitement there as well. And I do think that he'll have every opportunity, Adam, as you mentioned, to kind of grow into his potential with this Clippers group, because as we've seen with previous iterations of the Clippers, not a lot of opportunities for younger guys Mathurin's a little bit more established, but for younger guys to go out there and really get their game off. But I think he's going to be given the opportunity to do that.
We know Kobe Brown and Isaiah Jackson were exactly the headliners in this trade, but we wish Kobe Brown well now as a member of the Indiana Pacers. And who do you see Isaiah Jackson being for this Clippers team that now is devoid of that, defensive anchor you can rely upon pretty much every night?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the Clippers do. I would imagine they want to give Giannis some run, right, as that backup center. But Jackson, Ty said it pregame today, is a player that apparently Lawrence Frank has liked for some time. They like his toughness. They like his vertical ability. They like his athleticism. So I think he's going to get an opportunity to play. And we've seen Ty go double big. Maybe there's some lineups where they allow him to play alongside Brook while Brook's facing the floor. I think they're going to get creative with it. I do expect him to get an opportunity, but I also would be surprised if Yannick is relegated back to kind of that consistent third big, DMP type role, because I think the Clippers want to see what he can do as well.
Yeah, no doubt. In moving forward with the guys who were not traded, what do you think it does for them in that sense of relief getting past the trade deadline here? Guys like Bogdan Bogdanovic, who he was in trade rumors for a while, and they could really use him right now with his on-ball scoring.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he factors in, because we've seen it even with him healthy and other guys down. Cam Christie's been ahead of him in the rotation at times. Obviously, Kobe Sanders has been pretty consistently ahead of him in the rotation. Same goes for Jordan Miller. So I would anticipate him to get an opportunity. We saw it last game. But I think the bigger concern for me when it comes to the trade deadline is just the morale hit that this group is going to take after building really a ton of momentum, climbing out of that 6-21 hole. How do they now feel where your second and third best players are sent elsewhere? And I asked Ty that pregame, and he said, it's tough, but the guys are still inspired. They still believe in what we can do. So I think that's really the situation where time will tell how big of a morale hit it is for this group losing James and Zoo.
Since you're up in NorCal, what's the buzz in Sacramento? They made some minor tweaks, but they didn't have any major sell-offs of some of the guys maybe they would have liked to get off contract with.
I have no idea what the Kings' plan is. It's really hard to say.
That's what they say, yeah.
What this team is trying to do, because it's interesting that they kept the vets, but you're seeing those guys get benched down the stretch of games recently where, there's times where all three of Levine, DeRozan, and Westbrook will be on the bench while the young guys, find a way to try to win a game. So I think I would expect to see more of that where, obviously the veterans are here, and Scott Perry said at his press conference today that they're here to stay unless something changes. But I would expect to see more opportunities for the younger guys as the Kings try to develop them and lose games at the same time.
Here's Joey Linn from Sports Illustrated. Clippers beat writer at Joey Linn with 2 N's and an underscore at the end. Joey, appreciate you doing this on Clippers Countdown, especially the day after the trade deadline, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Adam. Pleasure as always.
Coming up next, we will get your drive around the league. Clippers taking on the Kings. Tip off just about 20 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Well, day after moving day, trade deadline is passed. Clippers have made some significant moves. Now they regroup, try to win a ball game up in Sacramento tonight against the Kings. Tip-off just 17 minutes away. I'm Adam Oslin. This is Clippers Countdown, the official pregame show of your LA Clippers. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll rejoin Carlo Jimenez from Golden One Center. But first, your drive around the league. Currently late third quarter in Minnesota, where the Clippers will be on Sunday. Timberwolves on top of the Pelicans, 86-78. Anthony Edwards with already 28 points in the ballgame with about 15 minutes remaining. Bucks on top of the Pacers, 80-65. Kevin Porter Jr. with 12, 6, and 8 assists as they lead by 15. TJ McConnell was 6 and 6 for the Pacers. Pistons all over the New York Knicks at home, 101-69. That would be, 38-13. They will be improving to, and 21-6 at home on the season. Team with the best record in the Eastern Conference. Boston Celtics not too far behind, but they're trailing by 1 currently at home against the Miami Heat. It's 89-88. Peyton Pritchard with 24 points so far. Norman Powell with 24 for the Miami Heat. 6 minutes left to play. 1-point game there in Boston. Clippers up in Sacramento taking on the Kings. Tip-off just about 16 minutes away. Up next, back to Carlo Jimenez. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers up in Sacramento taking on the Kings. Tip-off just about 13 minutes away here on Clippers Countdown. Coming up, we'll get to your keys to victory. But first, back out to your radio voice of the Clippers, Carlo Jimenez. So, Carlo, not the substantial moves from Sacramento's side compared to the Clippers, as many thought they were looking to get off some contracts but weren't able to. What's the buzz there in Sacramento right now with this team and what the direction could be moving forward?
Yeah, Adam, they're going to play the young guys. Scott Perry had his press conference today, the GM for the Kings, and said, pretty much, we told the veterans of this group we're going to lean on the young guys the rest of the way. Obviously, Sacramento, the worst record in the NBA. They've lost 10 in a row. They hold on to their picks, so they're going to have every incentive to be able to develop that youth and look towards next year. And so we're going to see probably a lot of Dylan Cardwell, who got that contract a couple of days ago, Nick Clifford, a lot of him, Maxime Reynaud, Stanford's finest, and Devin Carter. So I'd expect Sacramento to really lean on the youth. obviously it's hard to trade guys with contracts like DeMar, $20 million left next year. Levine's going to opt into his $49 million player option. So I think tough to trade those guys. You probably have to give them up and assets, Adam. And so for Sacramento, they decided we'll stay pat and then just try to find a way to develop this youth and hope, as a lot of teams are, to hit big in a big draft lottery. May 10th, Adam, might be the biggest day of the year for a couple of franchises coming up.
Yeah, including the Clippers now, where if the Pacers lottery ball ends between 5 and 9, it goes to the Clippers. Outside of that, it is retained by the Pacers. The Clippers will get then their 2031 first-round pick. So a really interesting trade, and I commend the front office and Lawrence Frank for making these moves that can still keep them competitive while building towards a future. But that's just huge to get that 2026 possibility, at least from the Pacers here, Carlo.
I mean, you have to understand, Adam, I know a lot of Clipper fans wanted it outright, but you have to understand the risk Indiana is taking on here. They are essentially saying, if we are losing this season, right? They have not won much at all, but they are saying this season, all of our effort to try to get a great spot in the lottery goes to the Clippers if the pick falls 5 through 9. That is a ton of risk. That is a ton of risk Indiana has signing up for, because this whole season for them pretty much goes aside, right? There's no productivity out of it if that pick goes to the Clippers. It'll great on the Clippers front office to be able to create a deal in which they could get that pick. It moves to 2031 if they don't. But you think about the value you're going to get, right? Outside of the big 4 guys in this draft, there's 8 guys after them who are so good. And so for the Clippers, they have a lot of options if they can get a pick 5 through 9. It would be huge in kind of accelerating getting this team back to a championship contention, as they hope to do very, very soon. But, man, what a move by the front office. You knew Indiana wasn't going to part with that pick completely. But to be able to say, hey, if it's a top 10 pick, 5 through 9, it's ours. That is some incredible stuff by Lawrence Frank. And really, the right asking price for a guy like Ivica Zubac, because he was everything Clipper Nation wanted and more. You weren't going to give him away unless, like you said, Adam, you got a Godfather offer. And I feel like a lot of people noted this on X yesterday, but the Clippers, they got a heavy asking price they were looking for, and they made the move.
I think an underrated part of the trade could be Isaiah Jackson, just because this is somebody a few years ago before tearing the Achilles that was just instant energy off the bench. And that's something this Clippers team could really need, especially in the front court. Obviously, Yannick will get more minutes out there right now, but Isaiah Jackson is an interesting piece that could also help this team moving forward, as he's in year 1 of a 3-year contract here, Carlo.
You know, it's interesting, Adam. Ty Lue noted that Lawrence Frank has loved Isaiah Jackson for a long time in his pregame press conference. They feel like he's somebody who can provide that energy, can be that spark, play faster, play with more pace. Pace is really the buzzword for the Clippers with these moves. I mean, they've gotten younger. They want to play faster, and that's what they're going to be able to do with guys like Mathurin and Garland and now Isaiah Jackson. Jackson works hard. Rick Carlisle spoke in his press conference how he feels like Jackson has played his best basketball as of late and is really proud of his development and his growth and feels like he's going into that next chapter with a lot of momentum. Obviously, we'll see with those guys how they kind of intertwine. It's going to give him a lot of grace figuring out how to play with this new team in a new situation. But I think for the Clippers, you got younger, you got some pieces who could be good, you got the picks you were looking for, and who knows how the chips will fall. But you get Indiana to pretty much say coin flip for our top 10 pick. I'll take it.
Yeah, no doubt. They got a 48% chance of getting that pick away from the Indiana Pacers, one of the most loaded drafts in years. All right, so this Clippers team now, we can move past the trade deadline a little bit, and some guys can have that sigh of relief here, Carlo. Guys like Bogdan Bogdanovic, DJ, Chris Dunn. Bogey's my player to watch because he got back in for 12 minutes on Wednesday night. Still looked like he's trying to catch that rhythm as he's been out of the lineup for so long. But some of these guys, I'm sure it was weighing heavily on them with the trade deadline, and now they can put it behind them. We'll see if that leads to better play out there.
I think, a lot of these guys love to say they don't think about the trade deadline. They don't keep their phones by them. But how can you realistically not, right? That mental toll has to be there. Oh, by the way, in 2 days, you could have 48 hours to move to a new city. Move you and your family to a new city across the country. I mean, there's no way that doesn't get you a little bit. So I think for the Clippers to just have that relief away, Obviously, John Collins was a piece that was talked about. He's played well. It doesn't look like it's weighing on him, but now is he unlocked? Do we see even more of what John Collins can do? Is he more aggressive? He's going to have to be on the offensive end without Ivica Zubac and James Harden. So I think for the Clippers, Adam, expect big games coming down the stretch. Expect a lot of offensive aggression from some of these guys. I was talking to the Sacramento guys earlier about how seeing Kawhi Leonard take 10 shots in a quarter, wouldn't be surprised if he takes 15 at some point. I just think they're going to need it. And Kawhi understands he's the one, as he said, who's going to hold it down until Darius gets here. I'd expect him to get a lot of shots up.
Well, I really like that quote from Kawhi, to the point I almost had him as my player to watch. But him saying in a season where he already has done plenty of carrying, saying, I'll hold it down until Darius Garland gets back. That is saying something for a guy that is statistically, you can say, having his best offensive season.
Yeah, a guy who's averaging 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists on 50, 40, 90 since December 20th is now going to turn it on a little bit. Excuse me? I didn't know there was another level to already your career high and leading the league in steals and being top 5 in free throw percentage. But as we've learned with Kawhi, you just never know what's next in the software update. And I guess he's going through another one here for the Clippers. I'm super excited to see what that looks like against the Sacramento team here today. And like everybody's echoed in this organization, Adam, the Clippers are going to try to win games. They're going to look to be competitive. They're going to look to make a fuss in the playoffs. They're going to try to make a run and get out of that play-in tournament. And I think you got to imagine it starts here today. How does this new offense look? I think Brook Lopez, I'm going to go my player to watch, Brook Lopez, back in the starting lineup, started all but 40 games before he came to the Clippers. I think he's just going to have more comfort, understanding, this is his role now. There's no trying out. There's no adjusting back and forth to the bench and being the starter. Even Ty Lue has talked about he felt like they put Brook in some really disadvantaged situations when he was taking on secondary big men, because there's not a lot of backup bigs in the NBA that are as big as Lopez. So now he can take on starting centers, which will hopefully help the Clippers. Of course, no Sabonis in this game, so that'll be interesting to see where he goes against a smaller Dylan Cardwell. I would just expect Brook to be way more comfortable in this new role that he's going to have with the Clippers.
The Brookie monster unleashed now as well. Clippers up in Sacramento taking on the Kings. Tip-off is just about 6 minutes away. Carlo Jimenez is on the call. Coming up next, we'll get to your keys to victory right here on the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network. Clippers up in Sacramento, the state's capital, taking on the Kings. Tip-off just about 5 minutes away. Carlo Jimenez on the call. Let's get to your keys to victory. Well, how could it not be this after what we saw on Wednesday in their 124-91 loss at home to the Cleveland Cavaliers, where the Clippers had 24 turnovers, leading to 47 points for Cleveland. That has to be an emphasis, taking care of the basketball and really getting off to a quick start, because the only way that this Sacramento Kings team, worst record in the league, has a chance in this ball game to beat up on the Clippers, who I think are still very highly motivated here to make sure they climb up the standings, is if they give them extra possessions and some easy buckets in transition, especially when you got a guy like Russell Westbrook out there. He's their energy, he's their motor, he's the catalyst. You let Russell Westbrook get going, it could be a long night for the Clippers. Tip off just about 4 minutes away. Clippers, Kings from Golden One Center. Take care of the basketball. I'm Adam Osland, and you're listening to the Los Angeles Clippers Audio Network.